The COVID unit at Joplin's Freeman Hospital is expanding. The hospital's director of COVID services explains why, coming up.
Speaker Nancy Pelosi says she'll move forward with a committee to look into the Capitol attack with or without Republicans. I'm Lauren Blanchard in Washington. More on the power struggle in Congress coming up.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Jordan Aubie. Authorities arrest a man who could be connected to bank robberies in both Kansas and southwest Missouri. The Miami County, Kansas Sheriff's Office says deputies arrested a suspect in the robbery of Landmark National Bank in Lewisburg, Kansas back on Monday. Earlier this week, Joplin police were investigating whether it was the same man who robbed a Great Southern Bank later that same day. Surveillance images show a robber wearing similar clothing and driving a white car in both cases. Formal charges are still pending. Carthage Police Department today recovered a body from Spring River. Authorities believe the body is that of Thomas Whitaker of Carthage. Whitaker has been missing ever since July 6th. Carthage PD is conducting a death investigation and waiting on pathology reports to confirm the identity. Doug Heddy joining us now with first look at the forecast. Some showers out there today, huh?
Yeah, a few random ones. 90% of us ended up staying dry, warm, humid, as well as the humidity has been coming up a bit over the past couple days. 87, still our average high is 91. We're going to close that gap as we go into the next few days and probably go above that as well. You can see those isolated little tiny showers that popped up. Now that we've lost the heating of the day, these are pretty much gone. Any showers are staying down to our south across parts of Arkansas. Temperatures mainly into the upper 70s. Will drop back 6, 7, 8 more degrees for us tonight. Of course, we're going to look at the heat kicking in here in just a bit.
All right, Doug, thanks as always. The rising number of coronavirus cases in the 4-state area prompts Joplin's Freeman Hospital to add an additional COVID-19 unit. KOAM's Mike Mahoney spoke to Freeman's director of COVID services to learn more.
Joplin's Freeman Hospital responds to the rising number of coronavirus-infected patients they've taken in during the last month and a half by creating a third unit dedicated to COVID-19.
If we go back in time, a couple months back, we had kind of had it in the 10 to 15 patient range per day. We're now seeing consistently up into the 40s and 50s again, which is pretty similar to our high water marks over the winter.
The new COVID unit will assist coronavirus patients who are transitioning out of the intensive care unit. But these patients still need a lot of assistance, including oxygen and specialized medical equipment.
This unit sits in a middle position, so it's patients that are still very severely sick, but they're not at that ICU ventilator level.
Dr. Robert McNabb, Freeman's director of COVID services, says with the addition of this third COVID unit, 20% of the hospital's beds are now dedicated to coronavirus patients. Dr. McNabb also took time to reflect on how he feels about seeing COVID-19 numbers heading in the wrong direction after the 4-state area had been making progress against the pandemic earlier this year.
I felt like this situation is under control and manageable. And, and transit that to today, we're opening up another unit. And now, 20% of Freeman's resources are going to this one diagnosis. It's disappointing to see the rock roll back down the hill and realize, oh boy, I've been here before and I didn't like it the first time.
In Joplin, Mike Mahoney, KOAM News.
There are currently 46 COVID-19 infected patients at Freeman Hospital. Dr. McNabb says the vast majority of them have not received a COVID-19 vaccine. Health officials warning Americans that things could get worse before they get better with the new, more infectious Delta variant of the coronavirus. Infection rates have ticked up across the country, particularly in those states where fewer people are vaccinated. Fox News correspondent Jonathan Seary has the latest from Atlanta.
Some encouraging news in the fight against the Delta variant of COVID-19. A new study showing the Pfizer vaccine is 88% effective against the new strain. The challenge now for both doctors and the White House is convincing people to take it. The vast majority of new infections are occurring in unvaccinated people, and only about 56% of Americans have gotten at least one dose.
This week, just 3 states, Florida, Texas, and Missouri, 3 states with lower vaccination rates, accounted for 40% of all cases nationwide.
The White House attributing some of that slowed pace to vaccine conspiracy theories shared on social media.
Misinformation is a threat to our health, and the speed, scale, and sophistication with with which it is spreading is unprecedented. If you're not sure, don't share.
The surge in new cases could also threaten some of the progress states have made in reopening. Los Angeles County has already reinstated its own mask mandate, and other cities and states are considering adopting the same approach.
I knew it was coming, the way everybody was doing, giving up, and it was unreal.
There's no reason to not use it. It's not like it hurts anybody. It's not. All it does is protect the people around you. And with the Delta stuff, might as well be safe.
Despite the increased concern, a CDC official tells Fox News the agency currently has no plans to change its guidance on masks. In Atlanta, Jonathan Seri, Fox News.
Centers for Disease Control and Prevention says the benefits of the Johnson & Johnson one-shot COVID-19 vaccine outweigh any potential health risks. About 100 cases of Guillain-Barré syndrome, a serious but rare neurological disorder, health officials say, have been reported in people after getting the J&J shot. CDC says early data shows, despite the risk of developing the disorder, the shot is still beneficial. FDA has issued a warning for the Johnson & Johnson shot regarding reports of Guillain-Barré syndrome, along with warnings about rare but life-threatening blood clots. Learning more about Missouri's vaccine incentive program. First told you about the state's incentives yesterday, where 900 residents are going to win $10,000 if they are or will be vaccinated. Today, state officials spoke to the media more in depth. KOAM's Zach Dodge tuned in, and Zach joins us live in the studio.
Thanks, Jordan. Health officials say the incentive is already accomplishing a lot, with more than 100,000 residents signing up. The state health department says residents have to sign up because they don't have records for residents vaccinated in another state or through a federal program. So you do have to register to win. And if you do win, the state says that you cannot remain anonymous. That may confuse some, since the program is being done in conjunction with the Missouri Lottery, and a new law in the state does make it a misdemeanor crime for lottery officials to ID winners. But officials say this isn't a lottery, and talking about winners is a big part of the program.
This program is structured so that we can show people being successful and winning prizes across the state, and people can see that they have the opportunity to do so. And if that is not publicized, then then we would lose the effectiveness of that.
The state will publicize winners' names and what city and county they live in. We've also learned more about cash incentives that local health providers will be able to give to those who get the vaccine. As part of Missouri VIP, $11 million in grant funding from the CDC will be distributed to local health providers. They will be able to give each person who gets a vaccine up to $25 on a gift card. Joel Dermott at the Barton County Health Department says, according to what the state says right now, departments will have latitude in how they administer the program. He says otherwise, though, there's not many details, and he's not sure yet if Barton County will participate.
Gift cards are great, but you would like those dollars to stay local if you can. And so we're not sure how that's going to work. It's got the potential to be a nice little program, and it's got the potential to be difficult to administer.
Dermott says the state would like the program to start next month. We'll of course have more details on the vaccine incentives as they come out, and we'll have these details and more on our website, KOAMnewsnow.com.
Zach Dodge, thank you so much. That brings us to tonight's KOAM News Now Instant Poll question. Today's question is, how do you feel about financial incentives to get a COVID-19 vaccine? The choices are pretty simple. Do you think it's a good idea or a bad one? You can vote over at KOAMnewsnow.com/vote or through the KOAM News Now mobile app. That too is pretty simple. Results are updated live, and we will be checking in on them later in this newscast. A select House committee is going to push forward to investigate a Capitol attack, even as the Republican leader says he won't nominate any from his own party to serve on the panel. Fox News correspondent Lauren Blanchard has more from D.C.
Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy says he's pulling all 5 of his nominations to serve on a select committee that will look into how the January 6th attack on the Capitol happened and how to prevent another insurrection attempt. This after Speaker Nancy Pelosi rejected 2 of his nominations.
There's no way that they're going to be on the committee.
Has what Speaker Pelosi done ever happened before? The idea that she's going to pick and choose, you're not going to get an outcome.
She denied Republicans Jim Jordan and Jim Banks.
With respect for the integrity of the investigation, with concern that the American people want to know the truth, I could not appoint them. I said that while this may be unprecedented, so was an attack on the Capitol.
The first hearing for the committee will take place on Tuesday morning, with or without new nominations from McCarthy. The minority leader says Republicans may hold their own investigation, but Republicans can't call committees as the minority party in the House. Senate Republicans have already rejected establishing a 9/11-style commission on the insurrection.
Nancy Pelosi shouldn't be picking the Republican members of a commission if that commission is truly independent.
Representative Liz Cheney is currently the sole GOP member on the committee appointed by Speaker Pelosi. The only other Republican representative who voted in favor of creating the panel is Adam Kinzinger.
There are some members who would like to be on it, but we'll see.
For the first hearing, the 13-member panel will focus on law enforcement with testimony from 4 police witnesses. In Washington, Lauren Blanchard, Fox News.
KOAM News at 9 on Fox 14 takes this time now to honor another 4-state hero. Ross Grasso served in the Marines from 1943 to 45. Native of Weir, Kansas, Grasso was stationed in Japan. Here in the Bronze Star, also a Purple Heart. We are proud to thank and salute Corporal Ross Grasso, tonight's 4-state hero. Doug Heddy's up next with a complete look at the forecast. Later in sports, Pittsburgh Post 64 baseball looking to win their first state championship since 2014.
Well, it definitely turned out to be a warm and humid day for us today as our temperatures, they warmed up into the upper 80s during the afternoon, which, of course, is warm but not awful, as we could be into the 90s, and we're going to sneak into the 90s over the next couple days. But look at all of July. It's been a warm month, just not a hot month. Temperatures into the 80s each and every day. Great shot. This is Indigo Sky Casino and Resort, of course. Looks pretty good. Had a nice sunset throughout the evening hours, and now our skies are pretty much clear across the region. And as we go down the road, we're going to continue with hazy evenings for at least the next couple. Heat, humidity, random isolated storms. And of course, you can always get my long-range forecast on my month-long blog. That is KOAMnewsnow.com. All right, this shows us the smoke this evening. You can see most of it southwestern parts of Missouri, and this is due to the wildfires way out west. It really just kind of moves in our upper levels of the atmosphere. Still a little bit tomorrow evening, but then we'll start to clear it out as we head into the weekends, Saturday on Sunday, and then probably moving back in a little bit early next week until they get those under control out west. Temperatures upper 70s right now. It does look like we'll drop back to about 72 or 73. Still a little bit of a heat index as our humidity is a little bit on the high side. So that's why it makes it still feel like it's into the lower 80s. Any isolated little tiny thunderstorms we had earlier this evening have all diminished due to losing the heating of the day. So we're dry. We're going to stay dry throughout the overnight hours tonight. Any rain staying mainly to our south across parts of Arkansas. And you can see this big area of low pressure across western Texas. That's what's kind of firing off these isolated showers. And again, we're going to have those chances over the next couple days. But the main story, the big ridge of high pressure out to the west, as that gets a little bit closer to us, our heat will start to increase over the next few days. So let's break it down. Let's go through tonight. Lower 70s, pretty much clear skies. Afternoon cumulus clouds again tomorrow. There may be 1 or 2 random little showers that pop up. Most of us stay dry. 72 to start, 86 by noon. High temp, a little hotter, right around 90 degrees. Again, tomorrow night, we look okay, clear skies. We'll drop back into the mid 70s. As we head into Saturday, we heat up again, lower 90s for highs. So our heat indices are going to start to go up. The way it's actually going to feel to your skin, about 95, 96 during the daytime hours tomorrow afternoon, and then probably 100 to about 103 by the time we go into Saturday afternoon. Actual temperatures, 90 tomorrow, 93 Saturday, 95 on Sunday, and we hold steady into the mid-90s really most of next week. In fact, if you want to go into next weekend, you can see really no changes.
Good gosh.
Yeah.
So Saturday's a good day to go swimming.
Yeah, as long as you're by the water, it should be okay.
Yeah. Okay, you can see a little bit. Thank you so much. Coming up, keeping that infrastructure plan alive.
The bipartisan infrastructure deal stalls in the Senate, but lawmakers say they expect to see it move forward as early as next week. I'm Mallory Rivera in Washington with the latest on where negotiations stand coming up.
Signed up for unemployment benefits last week. According to the Labor Department, first-time filings for weekly jobless claims rose by 51,000 to 419,000. That's up from a pandemic-era low in the prior week. More than half of Americans are unprepared for a financial emergency. According to a new Bankrate poll, 51% of households have less than 3 months of savings stashed away. Of that group, a quarter have no savings at all. Millennials are hurting the worst. 57% have little to no savings. Baby boomers, though, aren't far behind, with 49% in the same boat. Southwest Airlines snaps back into the black amid a flurry of travel. The budget airliner says net income totaled $348 million in its second quarter. Compare that to a year ago when it suffered a loss of $915 million. Meanwhile, American Airlines also had a bump, though not by as much, earning just $19 million still. It managed to pull away from 5 straight quarters of losses. The bipartisan infrastructure deal suffered a setback yesterday after the Senate blocked a procedural vote to advance it, but the group of senators working on the bill are still moving forward, saying could even put it up for another vote as early as Monday. Fox News correspondent Madeline Rivera is in D.C. with the latest on where both sides stand.
Negotiations for the $1.2 trillion infrastructure package are chugging along, even as the details remain in flux.
I think the White House and Senator Portman and them are working on a couple of things.
Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer adamant, though, that the Senate pass the bill before August recess.
I laid out that precise schedule at the end of June, and I intend to stick with it.
House Speaker Nancy Pelosi talking tough on Thursday, repeating the fate of the bipartisan infrastructure bill in the House depends on whether the Senate takes up the larger human infrastructure package.
We will not be taking it up until the Senate passes the reconciliation bill.
The White House believes infrastructure talks are gaining momentum.
We're very close to a point where there's going to be a vote.
The administration is citing a new report from the International Monetary Fund, which states the new administration's policies have put the U.S. economy on a strong footing as another reason to pump trillions of dollars more in investments to sustain the country's growth. A move Republicans call a mistake as prices soar in almost every sector, from clothing to used cars.
It's like they have systematically identified the worst idea for American families on every single issue and set about rolling them into one huge, reckless proposal.
Though the president points to economic growth as an incentive for infrastructure investments, a new report from the Labor Department shows initial jobless claims jumped to 419,000 last week, up 51,000 from the week before, suggesting that the country's rebound in the jobs market may be slower than expected. In Washington, Mallory Rivera, Fox News.
Next, students in Kansas City, Kansas, going to be required to wear masks this upcoming school year. Going to hear about the reasons mentioned behind this decision. American Heart Association says babies who are breastfed, even for just a few days, have lower blood pressure as a toddler. Researchers say cardiovascular issues begin to develop in early childhood for some. They believe breastfeeding could result in stronger heart health for adults. Nearly 30% of Americans began taking vitamins during the pandemic. This in an effort to boost their immunity from COVID and improve their sleep as well and mental health. That's according to a new survey by the Harris poll. Researchers say while taking supplements can help with your overall health, they warn not all supplements are FDA approved. Most people find allergy information on food labels unclear. Researchers in the Netherlands found statements like may contain led consumers to inappropriately restrict their diet or take a risk and eat something that might harm them. Students in Kansas City, Kansas are going to have to mask up when heading back to class in the fall. Fox's Sharifa Jackson has more.
Masks, they will be required for all students, staff, parents, and visitors in any school building and on school buses. The biggest change this year will be for teachers who will only teach in person.
The virtual mode is basically self-paced.
The Kansas City, Kansas School Board says it's dealing with learning loss spurred on by the pandemic. They believe the only way it can properly be addressed is for teachers and students to meet in person.
We're asking that masks be required.
The recommendation and new guidelines to wear masks this upcoming school year unanimously approved. The reasoning because of low vaccination rates in the county and the rapid spread of the Delta variant.
In Wyandotte County, less than 35% of our residents are vaccinated, so the safety of our students and our staff is number one. So getting the masks on, although they're not always the most comfortable thing, they are what's going to keep us safe.
Those masks will not be required in outdoor athletics. The plan will follow Kansas State High School Activities Association guidelines. Parents and fans can be in the stands during the games. The district, they say they do have a plan to go remote if needed. Now, as far as the team that helped draft these new guidelines, they say they will meet monthly with health officials and they'll make any adjustments also if they're needed. Sharifa Jackson, Fox 4, working for you.
All right, coming up, yeah, it's still summer. Yeah, it's still hot outside. But when it comes to coffee, for many people, there's always a time for that. Going to hear about some fall creamer flavors coming to stores soon. Cinnamon swirl, pumpkin spice, and of course, everything nice. Natural Bliss just announced their new fall flavors that are coming soon. 2 different pumpkin spice flavors are going to be released. One all-natural creamer and another plant-based version with oat milk. Take a good look at that. The company is also releasing an all-natural cinnamon swirl latte featuring hints of cinnamon and sugar. Natural Bliss's sister company, Coffee Mate, is also bringing back its signature pumpkin spice creamer. All those delightful fall products are going to be hitting grocery stores soon. Isn't that something? It's still hot out, but yeah, before you know it. I'm looking forward to the cinnamon swirl in particular. My grandma used to make homemade cinnamon rolls. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that one. All right, let's take another look at our KOAM News Now Insta poll. We asked you, how do you feel about financial incentives to get a COVID-19 vaccine? Do you think it's a good idea or a bad one? So far, 77% of you say it's a bad idea. 23% of you say, yeah, I'm all for it. Still have time to vote at KOAMNewsNow.com/vote or through the KOAM News Now mobile app. 30 more minutes, news, weather, and sports coming your way. Joplin residents had the chance to hear about a planned improvement project to an intersection.
We're just one day away from the opening ceremony for the Olympic Games, but some groups in Japan are still calling for their cancellation due to an increase in COVID cases. I'm Amy Kellogg in Milan, Italy, and I'll have more details coming up.
City of Joplin tonight hosts a public meeting to go over improvements they plan to make to the intersection of 4th and Murphy Boulevard. City officials say they plan to put in a new lights, several of them, at the 4-way stop. The number of lanes is also changing. It's currently a 4-lane road, but will be a 2-lane road with a center turn lane and an added bike lane.
I do feel like this project is necessary. This is probably one of our oldest signals as far as the equipment that's out there currently. And if we continue to leave it and not update it, I think it'll continue to, just as time goes on, it'll age and become more and more difficult to fix in the future.
Work on the intersection is going to begin summer of 2022. It's expected to finish later that year. The changes, by the way, are going to be funded by the Capital Improvement Sales Tax. Folks in Allen County, Kansas kicked off their county fair today over at the fairgrounds in Iola. Today's events included county fair staples like cow, sheep, and pig shows and a baked pie contest. Fair also had an event called Baby Barnyard.
Today I'd probably say it was horses because there was a pony over in the back here, and it's so cute.
County fairs are fun, aren't they? The Allen County Fair runs through Monday. By the way, you can find info about all of our area county fairs on our website, KOAMNewsNow.com. Another event right here, the Olympic Games are just one day away, but excitement is mixed with apprehension in Tokyo as COVID-19 cases there continue to rise. Fox News correspondent Amy Kellogg has the latest.
The sun setting over Tokyo Thursday as the city prepares to open the 2020 Olympic Games after a year-long delay. But with less than 24 hours to go, the city has hit a 6-month high in new COVID-19 cases. 1,979 new cases were reported on Thursday, the highest since January.
Under such circumstances,
the managing of the games, while at the same time taking all possible measures against COVID-19 is a far from easy task.
All this in spite of a state of emergency that was declared on July 12th in an effort to curb the spread of the virus. Meanwhile, groups of protesters in Tokyo continue to oppose the games, calling for them to be canceled in the face of these rising COVID cases. The West African nation of Guinea has pulled out of the games last minute, blaming the resurgence of COVID-19 and its more transmissible variants.
These Olympic Games are the most restricted sports events in the world ever.
And on Thursday, First Lady Jill Biden arriving in Japan, leading the United States diplomatic delegation to the Games. Biden meeting with Prime Minister Yoshihide Suga and his wife in the Japanese capital. Meanwhile, those athletes whose training has already been impacted by the pandemic are now having to deal with extreme heat and humidity, with temperatures rising well into the 90s. In Milan, Italy, Amy Kellogg, Fox News.
Here's another look at our KOAM News Now Inspo question that we had for you tonight. We asked you, how do you feel about financial incentives to get a COVID-19 vaccine? Do you think it's a good idea or a bad idea? 76% of you say no, it's a bad idea. 24% of you say, yeah, I think it's a good idea. Thanks everyone who voted. A bit later, combating drug overdoses.
Drug overdoses in the U.S. hitting a record number in 2020, mostly driven by fentanyl. I'm Brian Yennis in New York. More on the lethal drug coming up.
Well, it turned out to be a pretty good Thursday for us today. Of course, we were warm and a little bit more humid than what we have been seeing, at least over the past couple days. But in general, not too bad, just like most of July has been, as our high temps have mainly been into the upper 80s. We've only had one day that we've been into the 90s, and that will change as we go through the next few days. Looks good right now. This is Indigo Sky Casino and Resort, of course, a live shot just outside of Seneca, Missouri. As we go through the next few days, we're still going to have some hazy evenings due to the smoke in the atmosphere from the wildfires out to the west. Hot, humid, random isolated storms. You can always get my long-range forecast on my month-long blog, that is KOAMnewsnow.com. All right, this is showing us the smoke. You can see the thickest out across central parts of Missouri. So, of course, the wildfires out to the west, it carries in the upper atmosphere, and then we get the kind of hazy skies and then the very red sunsets at night. And it's been kind of thick the past couple days. Not really bad enough to affect our air quality too much, but still, it's been out there. It does lessen up a little bit for us tomorrow, and then it looks like it should mainly clear out of here by the time we head into the weekend. We'll have to see if it works back in early next week. All right, temps right now mainly into the upper 70s. We'll drop back to 72, 73. We do have some humidity, so our heat indices even right now a little bit higher. Makes it feel about 2 to 3 degrees warmer than what it actually is. But any scattered little showers that we had out there earlier, you can see them popping up here, pretty much dissipating. Now that the sun is set, we've lost our heating of the day, so any rain is mainly staying to our south across parts of Arkansas. Look at the spin, western parts of Texas, that is a little upper level low, and that's what's kind of firing off these little showers. And again, we're going to have these isolated little showers over the next couple days, but our main big weather story is this big dome of high pressure, and as it gets closer to us, our heat will start to go up just a bit. Tonight we look okay, lower 70s, 4 lows. We turn it around tomorrow. We should go right around 90 for a high. Here's your forecast. We're going to start at 72, 86 by noon, high temp at 90, south winds are going to be light at 5 to 10, and again an isolated random shower across the region. Clear skies tomorrow night. As we head into Saturday, a little bit hotter as we go into lower 90s for highs. Also the humidity starting to come up a little bit more. So heat indices 95 to 97 as we work into Friday, and then right around 100, 102 by the time we head into Saturday afternoon. And this really continues, that big dome of high pressure out to the west. As we go into early next week, it gets a little bit closer to us, keeping the heat and the humidity around as we go through the next several days. Let's go 90 tomorrow, 93 Saturday, 95 on Sunday. We hold into the mid-90s most of next week.
Ugh, that humidity.
Yeah, I know, it stinks.
That's the thing that's the worst. All right, Doug, thanks so much as always. Coming up in sports, the Outlaws try and make some ground on the division leaders. Also, Pittsburgh Post 64 gearing up for the state tournament, and this year they get to host. Danny Terzer has that story and more next.
The Outlaws need to gain some ground in the South. They'll have a chance to do that tonight as they face the top team in the division, the Sedalia Bombers. Series finale, a good one here. Outlaws score 3 in the 9th to take a 6-4 lead. Joplin racking up the homers in this series. Tonight it's Drake Angeron and Ethan Ellis, both with the 2-run shots. Caleb Fearstake is 3 for 4. Pittsburgh Post 64 has already had postseason success this year, winning the zone tournament last weekend. Now, all eyes are set on the state tournament, and the Patriots get home field advantage. We caught up with the team ahead of the tournament start. Pittsburgh Post 64 is hunting down the team's 5th state championship.
For the state tournament, it's win time. The best kids are going to be playing. We're going to go all out, and we're going to try to take this thing home.
This year, the opportunity to win it all is extra special. The Patriots are the tournament hosts.
We get to come out in a field we're comfortable with, and we've played on all year.
Pittsburgh is fresh off a zone championship.
We wanted to get some postseason baseball experience. These are games that actually matter and they count. And I think it's going to be a good experience for us going into the state.
And are playing their best baseball.
I think we're hitting our stride at the right time. I think everybody's just kind of excited, and all our work we're putting in is starting to pay off.
We all kind of came from different places, but I feel like we've all meshed really well together. So when that happens, energy's always high. You feel confident, you feel good playing. We've played enough together at this point that we're all kind of used to each other. We know what we're about to do, and I think we can go far in the state tournament.
The last time Pittsburgh won was in 2014, and 2021 feels like the year to bring it back.
It's been a while since we've had some really good teams and just have fallen short, and I think it's our time. When we get there, we're going to be ready to go.
It'd be really special, bring a state championship back to Pittsburgh and play with these guys and win one.
The state tournament begins next Wednesday, July 28th. In round 2 of the Kansas Little League State Tournament, tonight's game features a matchup between Pittsburgh and Cherokee. This game in the winner's bracket, Will Schremer, working the count here, takes this pitch out of the park, in fact, into the trees. 2-run home run, and Pittsburgh leads 2-0. And next inning, Cherokee threatening with a runner on third. Pitch in the dirt gets away. Colton Simmons makes up for it with the play at home. Close one, but they're able to keep Cherokee off the board. Pittsburgh back to add more in the bottom. Jaden Beltran puts it in play. Good for an RBI. Colton Smithheisler comes home. Pittsburgh runs away with it, winning 10-0. The Cardinals have climbed back to a .500 record following a walk-off win against the Cubs on Wednesday. Tonight, they play for the series win. In the finale, Cards get the 3-2 win and take the series. Dylan Carlson 3 for 4 tonight with a solo shot. Nolan Arenado also homers, his a 2-run bomb. Back with more news after this.
Fentanyl is the main driver of drug overdose deaths in the country, and much of the illegal supply being trafficked across the border is making its way to a new distribution hub in the country. Fox News correspondent Brian Yennis has more now from New York.
Fatal drug overdoses spiking to record levels in the U.S. last year, a majority of those deaths blamed on fentanyl, an opioid used for pain treatment that is 100 times more potent than morphine. According to the DEA, approximately 90% of fentanyl-laced drugs can be traced to the southern border. In the month of June alone, more than 1,000 pounds of fentanyl were seized there by Customs and Border Protection.
In terms of the major traffickers, they could care less. They're really just merchants of death. They don't care.
Once it's trafficked across the border, fentanyl makes its way, often on produce trucks, to New York City, which has become a major distribution hub for the lethal drug. Fentanyl seizures there are up 236%, with 806 kilograms seized, enough to kill more than 400 million people. The special narcotics prosecutor in New York City saying lethal amounts of fentanyl are now being mixed into all major drugs, including pills, meth, heroin, and cocaine.
It's coming in very large volume. And so instead of just being mixed in with heroin now, it's being pre-pressed into pills that look just like pharmaceutical pills that you might buy from a manufacturer.
Drug overdoses in the city are up 22% in just the last year, 75% of those deaths involving fentanyl.
It's finding its way into drug markets across the country where it hadn't been seen before.
In the U.S. last year, more than 93,000 people died of a drug overdose. In New York, Brian Yennis, Fox News.
Next, going to preview a new movie that shines a light on the dangers of bullying. Wahlberg and Reed Miller star in a new film that shines a light on the dangers of bullying. Fox's Ashley Dvorkin has the story.
I'm on the right track, baby. I was born this way.
The biographical drama Joe Bell tells the tragic true story about the impact of bullying. Mark Wahlberg plays a father who embarks on a cross-country walk in honor of his son, who committed suicide after being bullied at school for being gay.
This is a very, very important story that needs to be told and needs to be handled with the sensitivity and respect that it deserves.
Hopefully, this story will save a life. If it saves one life, it's done its job.
Newcomer Reed Miller portrays real-life teenager Jaden Bell, who took his life at just 15 years old.
It was such a range of emotions. It was tears of sadness. It was tears of joy. It was anger. It was a lot of things. And it was a lot of things that I have felt in my life.
Miller was able to pull from his own experiences of being bullied while growing up in a small town in Texas to help him play the role.
I get it way too well. That feeling of being alone, that feeling of being isolated. I feel that all that happened for a reason. It gave me the strength and the ability to play this part and to tell Jaden's story as authentically as humanly possible.
Wahlberg hopes the film will help open the hearts and minds of people to be tolerant and accepting of each other.
No matter where they come from, what their sexual orientation is, race, religion, any of those things, we want to make sure that people are, and especially parents, that they're listening to their children, that they're hearing what's going on with them, that they love them unconditionally and support them.
Joe Bell's story arrives in theaters Friday. In Hollywood, Ashley Dvorkin, Fox News.
That's our time for tonight. Thanks so much for joining us. Going to leave you with video of a snow leopard right there, spotted on some mountains in Kazakhstan. Whoa! Close up right there. Be safe. Do this all again tomorrow. I'll see you then.